Alright, this one's a little bit more involved, but I think it's still a good one. It says a plane is descending with an angle of depression of 6.5 degrees. If it is 25,000 feet across the ground from the airstrip, how far will it travel? Okay, so there's lots of little pieces going along. So let's think about what we've got. I know that we've got a little plane here, so I'm going to draw my plane. It's flying in the air, it's just cruising along. I know that essentially my plane is coming down to hit my airport. Okay, so this in essence is going to be my right triangle. Now let's plug in the details that we can. I'm going to come back to the 6.5 degrees for a second. I know that it says if it is 25,000 feet across the ground from the airstrip. So that's not saying, if it just said if it's 25,000 feet away, you would go the direct path of the plane. But it says across the ground, so that means that I'm now going to put 25,000 feet on this bottom part of my triangle. Okay? Now the angle of depression, 6.5 degrees, here's where we got to be careful. Angle of depression refers to opening down from the horizontal. Okay, so you might ask yourself, where is that in this picture? A lot of times, students want to put this 6.5 degrees in this space right here. But that's not quite right, because if the plane were to go straight across, the part that opens down is right here. So this is where 6.5 degrees goes. Okay, now you've got a couple options for how you can play around with this problem. One option is to recognize that these two angles right here are complementary. That means that this space right here is simply 90, take away 6.5, no issue. Another option is, you might remember from geometry that we have parallel lines between the path if the plane were to go straight across and our ground level. And when we have parallel lines, that also means alternate interior angles are congruent. Either way, you can probably reason out that this space down here is also 6.5 degrees. Okay? It's going to generally work out that the angle of elevation right here and the angle of depression right here are the same. That's just a trait of these problems. Last piece of info, how far will it travel? It's referring to the plane. So this problem, you got to think about, where is the plane located? What path will the plane be on? Well, our plane is going to be going across our hypotenuse right here. So that's where I'm going to put X. Okay? So based on my triangle, I now know 6.5 degrees. Based on this 6.5 degrees, this side length right here is going to be adjacent. And my X, or the value that I want to solve for, my hypotenuse, is going to be, well, I just said it is going to be my hypotenuse. So adjacent hypotenuse means I need cosine. So cosine of 6.5 degrees is equal to adjacent 25,000 feet over hypotenuse X. This is very similar to the first one. It was just a slightly more complicated picture. I'm going to multiply both sides by X. I get X cosine 6.5 degrees is equal to 25,000. I'm going to divide both by cosine, so I get 25,000 over cosine of 6.5 degrees. And if you plug that in, we get 25,000 divide cosine 6.5. And we get that our hypotenuse is, sorry, I got something that's freaking me out for a second. 25,000 that moment when you get an answer that you don't like, check my mode. I'm in degrees. and I get 25,161.743 feet. So I'm going to leave it at that. If there's something that don't quite, just wasn't quite what I was expecting, if I decide that there needs to be a change, I'll make an edit, but we'll go with that for right now.